The story of Freemasonry begins not in shadowed conspiracy, but in the dust and sweat of medieval construction sites. In 13th century Europe, as cathedrals reached toward heaven, stonemasons possessed knowledge that separated crude stone from divine architecture. Their craft demanded years of apprenticeship, geometric precision, and secrets passed only from master to student. These were not merely labourers, but guardians of an extraordinary tradition. In Scotland during the 1500s, operative masons gathered in temporary lodges near construction sites. These structures served practical purposes, protecting trade secrets and ensuring quality standards. A young apprentice received his tools, each implement symbolic of moral virtues. The square taught honesty. The compass reminded him to circumscribe his desires. The level spoke of equality among brothers. Yet something remarkable was beginning to emerge from these simple gatherings. Wealthy gentlemen, philosophers, and scientists began seeking admission to Masonic lodges across the 16th and 17th centuries. They came not to learn stonework, but to absorb allegory and Enlightenment ideals. London coffee houses buzzed with revolutionary ideas about reason, liberty, and human perfectibility. In 1619, the earliest known lodge records appeared in Edinburgh, documenting rituals already ancient by that time. But the transformation was far from complete. The momentous year of 1717 changed everything. 4 London lodges united to form the Grand Lodge of England, the first organisational body to govern Freemasonry formally. This marked the definitive shift from operative to speculative masonry, from actual construction to philosophical enlightenment. Within decades, lodges spread across Europe with remarkable speed, adapting to local cultures while maintaining core principles. The movement had found its structure and was ready to reshape the world. In France, Masonic lodges became salons of revolutionary thought where dangerous ideas flourished. Voltaire received his initiation at age 84, just months before his death in 1778. Mozart composed music infused with Masonic symbolism, his Magic Flute, a coded masterpiece that audiences still enjoy without recognizing its hidden meanings. Benjamin Franklin established lodges in Philadelphia during 1731, bringing Enlightenment Brotherhood to colonial America. The fraternity was gathering history's most influential minds. These lodges offered something radical for their time. Catholic and Protestant nobleman and merchant could meet as equals, bound by shared values rather than birth or creed. In an age of absolute monarchs and religious persecution, Freemasonry created spaces where men addressed each other as brother, regardless of worldly station. The ceremonies emphasized reason, tolerance, and the perfectibility of human character through moral instruction. Such concepts were revolutionary and dangerous. George Washington, a devoted Mason, laid the United States Capitol cornerstone in full Masonic regalia during 1793. At least 9 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons. At least 13 signers of the Constitution belonged to the fraternity. The symbolism embedded in American currency and monuments reflects Masonic ideals, the all-seeing eye and unfinished pyramid representing enlightenment and perpetual progress. America itself became a Masonic experiment in self-governance, yet not everyone welcomed this new brotherhood. In 1738, Pope Clement XII issued the first papal condemnation of Freemasonry, forbidding Catholic participation under pain of excommunication. The Church viewed Masonic secrecy and religious tolerance as threats to ecclesiastical authority. Subsequent popes reinforced this prohibition throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. Catholics who joined faced spiritual consequences, yet many chose the fraternity anyway, creating tensions that persisted for generations. The 19th century witnessed Freemasonry becoming inextricably linked with political upheaval across Europe and Latin America. In authoritarian states, lodges offered rare spaces for free discussion, attracting reformers and revolutionaries. Italian nationalist Giuseppe Garibaldi rose through Masonic ranks while fighting for unification. Simon Bolivar drew inspiration from Masonic ideals during South American independence wars. Mexican revolutionary Benito Juárez was a devoted brother. This association with political change made the fraternity both influential and vulnerable. The 20th century brought catastrophic persecution. Adolf Hitler viewed Freemasonry as part of an imagined Jewish Masonic conspiracy threatening Aryan purity. Nazi stormtroopers raided lodge buildings across Germany during 1933, burning ritual objects and confiscating property. Tens of thousands of Freemasons across occupied Europe were arrested and sent to concentration camps where they wore inverted red triangles marking them as political prisoners. Between 80,000 and 200,000 brothers perished in the Holocaust. The Soviet Union proved equally hostile to the fraternity. Lenin dismissed Freemasonry as bourgeois mysticism incompatible with communist ideology. By 1922, every lodge throughout Russia had ceased to exist. Russian Masons fled into exile, preserving their traditions in Paris, New York, and other cities, while their homeland forbade such gatherings. Decades would pass before Freemasonry tentatively returned to Eastern Europe following communism's collapse in the early 1990s. Despite persecution, Freemasonry rebuilt and refocused on charitable works. The Shriners, a Masonic appendant body, established their first children's hospital in 1922 in Shreveport, Louisiana. These institutions provide free medical care regardless of a family's ability to pay. Since their founding, Shriners hospitals have treated over 1 million children with burns, orthopedic conditions, spinal cord injuries, and cleft palates. The Red Fez represents just one branch of extensive Masonic philanthropy across the globe. Freemasons organize blood drives, scholarship programs, and disaster relief efforts worldwide. The fraternity operates quietly, its members often reluctant to publicize their generosity. This reticence stems from Masonic teaching that virtue requires no applause, that good works done for recognition lose their moral worth. In Scotland alone, Freemasons donate over £2 million annually to charity. Yet few outside the fraternity know the scope of these contributions. The story of Prince Hall Freemasonry reveals American Masonry's troubled racial history. Prince Hall, a free black man, was initiated in an Irish military lodge in Boston during 1775. When American lodges refused African Americans membership, Hall petitioned England's Grand Lodge, receiving a charter in 1784 to establish African Lodge No. 459. This became the foundation of Prince Hall Freemasonry, which grew into a significant institution within African American communities across the United States. For nearly 2 centuries, white-dominated Grand Lodges refused to recognize Prince Hall Masons as legitimate brothers. This racism contradicted Freemasonry's stated principles of universal brotherhood and equality. Only gradually, beginning in the 1980s, did reconciliation occur state by state. Today, most American Grand Lodges recognize Prince Hall Freemasonry, though some southern jurisdictions still refuse. The wound of racial division, though healing, remains visible in American Masonry's organizational structure. Modern Freemasonry faces significant challenges in the 21st century. In England and Scotland, membership has declined dramatically from post-war peaks when hundreds of thousands belonged. Lodges that once met weekly now gather monthly with diminished attendance. The average age of members continues rising as young men find community through different channels, yet simultaneously, millennials seeking structure and meaning discover Freemasonry's unique offering of ritual, philosophy, and brotherhood. Continental European Freemasonry presents fascinating diversity that challenges Anglo-American traditions. French Grand Lodges embrace progressive politics and admit both men and women in mixed-gender lodges, a practice that traditional English-speaking Freemasonry rejects as irregular. French lodges debate social and political issues openly, while Anglo-American lodges forbid such discussions in their meetings. This fundamental disagreement about Freemasonry's nature has created irreconcilable divisions lasting over a century. Women's relationship with Freemasonry remains complex and contested. Traditional lodges admit only men, claiming unbroken connection to medieval operative masonry. However, women's Masonic organizations exist, including the Order of the Eastern Star, which admits both men and women but requires male members to be Master Masons. Co-Freemasonry, also called Le Droit Humain, has initiated women since 1882. These organizations perform similar rituals and espouse identical values, yet mainstream Freemasonry refuses to recognize them as legitimate. Conspiracy theories about Freemasonry persist despite contradicting the fraternity's decentralized reality. The internet teems with claims that Masons control governments, orchestrate global events, or worship Satan. These theories ignore that each Grand Lodge governs independently without global coordination. No supreme Masonic authority exists to direct worldwide activities. Freemasonry attracted influential members because influential people sought its fellowship, not because membership conferred power. The truth proves less dramatic, but more historically accurate. The fraternity's emphasis on discretion made it easy to project sinister intentions onto ordinary privacy. Masonic rituals remain confidential not because they're dangerous, but because their allegorical power depends on experiencing them unprepared. The surprise of initiation ceremonies creates emotional impact that enhances moral lessons. Publishing every detail online would diminish this pedagogical effectiveness, much as reading a film's plot summary reduces its emotional resonance. Secrecy serves education, not conspiracy. Freemasonry today operates in over 100 countries across 6 continents. In the Philippines, lodges thrive with tens of thousands of members. Indian Freemasonry maintains British traditions decades after independence. Brazilian lodges blend European ritual with local cultural expressions. African Freemasonry grows steadily, establishing new lodges annually. The fraternity adapts to local contexts while preserving core principles established centuries ago, demonstrating remarkable resilience across vastly different societies. The fundamental question remains, what actually happens in Masonic lodges? Brothers gather in temple rooms decorated with symbolic elements including checkered floors representing life's duality, twin pillars recalling Solomon's temple, and the all-seeing eye symbolizing divine observation. They perform ritual dramas teaching moral lessons through allegory. A candidate progresses through 3 degrees, each revealing additional wisdom through symbolic instruction. The content remains confidential, but the purpose is openly stated: making good men better. Freemasonry requires belief in a supreme being but prescribes no specific theology. It welcomes Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, and others, asking only that members acknowledge a divine architect. Prayers during meetings reference deity generically as the great architect of the universe. This religious tolerance, revolutionary in the 18th century, remains Freemasonry's defining characteristic. Brothers find common ground in shared moral values rather than theological agreement, creating fellowship across religious divides. The charitable work continues evolving to meet contemporary needs. Beyond hospitals, Freemasons fund educational programs, support veterans, provide disaster relief, and assist elderly members facing hardship. The fraternity maintains retirement homes for aging brothers and their widows. Scholarship programs send thousands of students to university annually. Blood donation drives save countless lives. These tangible contributions represent Freemasonry's practical expression of brotherhood and service, translating ritual lessons into concrete action benefiting communities worldwide. As the 21st century progresses, Freemasonry stands at a crossroads. Will it remain relevant to younger generations seeking meaning in an increasingly secular world? Can it overcome declining membership in traditional strongholds while growing in developing nations? Will the fraternity adapt its structures and practices while preserving essential traditions? These questions lack certain answers, but Freemasonry's 3 centuries of adaptation suggest resilience. The fraternity has survived papal condemnation, Nazi persecution, communist suppression, and cultural indifference. What endures is Freemasonry's core offering, a systematic approach to moral development through allegorical ritual, a brotherhood transcending social divisions, and a community dedicated to mutual improvement and charitable service. These elements resonated with Enlightenment philosophers, attracted revolutionary leaders, sustained brothers through persecution, and continued drawing seekers today. The ancient tools remain relevant symbols. The square still teaches integrity. The compass still reminds us to circumscribe our passions. The level still proclaims human equality before the divine. The story of Freemasonry is ultimately a human story about our endless search for meaning, community, and transcendence. It's a story about ordinary people attempting to become better through shared ritual and mutual support. It's about preserving wisdom across generations, helping those in need, and creating bonds stronger than blood. From medieval construction sites to modern hospitals, From Enlightenment coffee houses to contemporary lodge rooms, this fraternity has woven itself into history's fabric, not as puppet masters or conspirators, but as brothers seeking light in darkness, building not cathedrals of stone, but temples of human character. That work continues today, as it has for 300 years, one brother, one degree, one act of charity at a time,